You ready? Yes, sir. And we are live. What it do, KTTV family? Welcome to another episode of the Underground Kyngz Podcast. This is the first live episode of the Underground Kyngz Podcast. And so I had to do it again and do it right with the man himself, Mr. Sam Wesley. How you doing today, brother?
Good, Doc. How you doing, man?
Look, man, I am great. Just wanted to say thank you for taking some time out, man, to come on, talk about the work. Dude, you've been working like 9,000 on the books, man, and just the entries of just dropping them, man, and having some for us each day almost. So big shouts out to you, man, for taking some time out to just come talk about the work, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for having me on. Thank you for just even like reading every day like you do. So yeah, I appreciate the time too, man, because Volume 2 just dropped on Audible last Thursday night. And so I'm really excited about that book.
Hold on, wait a minute. We got to Sam. We got to wait a minute. We just had a technical difficulty.
Yeah, already.
Hey, okay, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you. I've been hearing you. I got you.
Okay, there we go. Some reason it left them earphones. So, man, before we jump into things, I always like to do my wellness check, man. How have you been doing during this pandemic and out here staying safe, brother?
Staying safe or staying sane? Which one?
Both.
Staying in the house is number one how we stay safe. So I'm normally between my house or my fiance's house. I don't really go out too much. I might, if I need some sun or I just need to interact with people, there are a few places that I will go. So, I know what I need to break my routine. I'm also vaccinated, so now I feel more comfortable going out. I took the Johnson & Johnson, so hopefully one shot, and I don't have to go back and get it again for a reason. And then to stay sane, brother, I write. It's the only thing I feel like that's kept my sanity, writing and meditation.
So much the way to keep our sanity through that. Just getting something out that we deem productive, man. It just keeps us rolling. So big shouts out to that, man.
So now, what are you doing though? How you staying sane? Because I can't just tell you how I'm staying sane and then you're not going to share with me because you work a lot. Like, when do you rest, man?
Hey,
when
do
you stop?
Hey, that's a good question. For me though, man, I try to get it in. I made a few moves in the podcast to really take back my weekends, but also just take back some time. But so staying sane to me, instead, it's been a real work, because at the same time, going to work every day and making sure that you're keeping the people in the building safe, making sure you're keeping those teacher spots filled when teachers are out. Ever since the president did the push for the vaccinations, it's like teachers can really, book their vaccination and leave at any time. And so even with working on the skeleton COVID crew, you got to make sure that class is covered and that things keep going regardless of the situation. So, hey, man, it's been real, but I'll take it, brother.
But I'll tell you probably learned how strong you are during this time because you're having to function. And in addition to that, you're having to function at a higher level because of the vigilance that you have to act with now for the people that you're responsible for. So kudos to you, brother, because you seem to do it all with a smile.
Hey, man, you got to, man. What you gonna do?
That's true.
Hard days. So, man, for the people that don't know, man, can you give us a little bit of background on you? And how, and talking about it, at least from when we connected to the law till now, just getting the books out, man, and how you got to that point.
So I'm an attorney. I'm licensed in the state of Texas. I used to do family law primarily. I used to do special education. I also did some criminal. Now I'm focused more on different roles in consulting. I'm also doing more wills, trusts, and estates and probate type of cases. Family law just became too emotionally taxing, and some taxes are not worth paying out anymore. So same thing with criminal law. I'm just seeing where unless clients are really well funded, it's hard to give them a proper the proper reputation that they deserve. And that's just how the court system is. So I think my last criminal case, I had a client that, had to plead guilty to something that, we both believed innocent being, but he didn't have the money to really fight the forensics. And so as a result of that, he has something on his record that's, hopefully he can get it sealed. But I just don't want to sign my name to somebody confined to their freedom. And I just find myself doing that too much, and I don't want to be a party to it. So that transitioned into the books. So the books were an accident. Like, I never intended to write a book when I first started writing. The writing just became a form of therapy for me. And so I was just writing. I'd be in meditation. I'd be writing poems. I have all these things in my head. And I just started writing in my own personal journal. And then I started taking some of those things into a blog. And then people started really feeling your blog, you should think about writing a book or putting this into a book. And then it just kind of went from there. And because I write so much, I have enough for a lot of books. I have a lot of information to share. And a lot of those posts can really stand out. So I'm excited about the possibilities of Mind of the Prophet, because what it is for me, even still today, I am here talking about it. I'm here promoting it. First and foremost, that is a way for me to relax. That is a way for me to meditate. That is a way for me to own my mind more so throughout the day. It helps me to organize my thoughts. And even more so, I make time to do that. And one thing that I learned through the pandemic, because it's been a shift for everybody, right, is I had to own some parts of my day I would only let people come into voluntarily. And what I mean by that is, wake up, you have a million notifications on your phone, you have emails, you have social media notifications, you have responsibilities for your day, you have your calendar notifications, and these are the things that you wake up to. Mm-hmm. And when I was studying for the bar, I was very disciplined and religious about the fact that I had to wake up and meditate first. And that really set the trajectory for my day. And so I rededicated myself to that effort, really started last year. And for the first couple of hours of my day, phone would stay on Do Not Disturb, and nobody could get into that space without my permission. And so I really poured a lot of time and energy into the time, because I needed that time to be for me, and it's just expanded from there. I would have never thought that when I started writing that I would have over 200 and something entries. But that is just how often, I feel like something comes to me, and that just once you make use of a certain amount of time, this is all scriptural. Very faithful, and a little bit, God will give you more. And so for me, I think because I'm very faithful to my writing, He has afforded me opportunities to do more writing. The topics that I go into kind of blow my mind sometimes, and what might come out of meditation. So it's been, for me, the best form of therapy that I could ever ask for. Yeah. And
then one of the biggest parts is like you say, being intentional about just taking that time back and having people allowed into that time. During the day, we off those Not Disturb, you call me, but during that time is special. And so I think, man, that is the way that we bring out that creativity, man. Sure. I was just thinking, even before I went to my radio show today, I said in my head that this time is only for the radio.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was intentional about making sure that I had nothing but that. So, man, big shouts out to that, brother. Big shouts out to just taking that time. And so that really answered my next question, because it was in the midst of the cases, in the midst of the work, how do you find that time? But man, I don't mean to sound too abrasive, but you take that time, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I take that time. I take that time. And, I've probably come into like complete ownership of who I am, and I'm not ashamed of who I am. I don't have any reservations about, what makes me unique. And so I don't really sleep a lot. I have very intermittent sleep. Sometimes I can go, just for 4 hours, sleeping on the day, and I'll be up. So sometimes I will be up and writing at 3 a.m. It's not uncommon for me to wake up out of a dream, and then I would have to go write down what I feel like I heard in the dream, or whatever the dream was trying to tell me. I'll sit with it until I understand it. So, but I started writing, like I would wake up 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock every day, and probably up until 8 or 9 o'clock, I'm unavailable for people. That's where I prefer to do my writing, is in the morning. But I also found that like really late at night, I can get some done. I found that I get a lot more introspective writing done when it's quiet outside. I write in my garage and I have the birds chirping and I'm watching animals come in, leave, eat the food that I'm leaving out for them. They're just kind of all of the experience for me, right? But when it's silent outside, I just think the energy is just different. When I have that quiet time, like it's quiet everywhere. And it's really like me connected with nature as much as I can. And that just adds kind of to the experience for me. So I do take that time. That's why I have to take it. Because if you don't take the time, brother, people just gonna flop all over your boundaries and take that time from you. So that I just defend that at all costs.
Yeah, that's why I say that. I didn't mean to sound abrasive, but you have to take that time, man, for yourself. And so as we talk about the writings, 200 entries, what kind of writings are they? Like when people read this book, how can they benefit from these writings, if you would say they could? And then just what kind of writings are they?
That's a good question. Most of them have some type of spiritual leaning towards them. I don't subscribe to any religion. I used to be a Baptist minister. I was raised Christian. I won't say that I'm Christian now. I'm not married to any doctrine. I have a thirst to understand God's character as other people have understood him, not just the way that I was raised, because I feel like that gives me a more complete picture of who God is. Christians understand him different than the Jews, who understand him different than the Muslims, who understand him different than the Buddhists, who also understood the Mayans and also the Egyptians. They all left us their understanding of who God was. And if we pay attention to that, we can find a lot of good wisdom in the things that they've left us. So for me, the writing all has some type of ancient wisdom. That's kind of how I like to frame it. Some type of wisdom that's transferable no matter the religion. And one thing that I really like to do is, if I am going to be talking about the Bible, I like to jump into the mindset of the character that I'm talking about. And that helps me. People forget that these biblical characters were flesh and blood, right? They forget that they're human. When they're talked about in church or any other setting, they're deified as if perfect, even though people say that they're, understanding, they recognize their humanity. But how much are you willing to step into that person's shoes to understand their experience? And for me, to try to understand the experience as best I can, because now I can capture something different from their story that I couldn't before. And so that's really the whole process. I sit and also I write a lot of poetry, because that was your question about the writings. I write a lot of poetry. I curse in my writings. Like, I'm not a holy roller. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still got my own vices. I drink too much. I smoke cigarettes. I smoke cloves. I really like them, right? And so I'm not gonna change myself and be ashamed of things that I like that I probably shouldn't like, just because I have this thirst to understand God's character. I don't think piety is required to understand him. Everybody has their way. So my writings kind of across the board. I talk about history. I talk about the different stories of creation. I have different poetry. I just talk about people understanding and coming into their own, having their own awakening. Even more so, what I really like my writings to do is question. And people are afraid to do that. And I think that is that's been a terrible thing that's been taught to probably no matter the right, because that's how you get your answers, is by asking the questions. And you can't be afraid to ask God a hard question. If you really believe he spun the earth up, if you really believe he's orchestrating everything, he's not going to be afraid of whatever question it is that you got to ask him, or your temper tantrum, or your curse word, or whatever it is. Like, the more honest you get in that time period that you have with God, the more information he gives you. That's kind of how I look at it. You got to be honest about that. You got to be honest about that time. You got to be honest about that dialogue. Just as you and I are talking, I talk to God like that. I don't go, and I'm not Heavenly Father in heaven and not no begging. Like, me and God get down to the nitty gritty, when we're talking. And it's so my writings reflect all of those different things about the conversation and the relationship that I have with God, that I'm just not afraid to share it,
Yeah, and that's it. Because like we all and it's so crazy, man, when you talk about that dialogue when we're in church, though. That's how we do it. We coming to him, dear Lord, thank you this.
Yeah.
But as soon as we get that throw up and that we said, hey Lord, look, if you just let me get past this one more time, that's it.
Yeah, man.
That dialogue change.
Yeah, and I don't want to say this and sound blasphemous to anyone. I believe the honesty of what the holy books have said about God. You get what I'm saying? I believe the honesty in those things. And furthermore, I just have my own way of understanding who he is. When I did leave the church, it was because I couldn't preach with honesty in the pulpit because I had stopped believing that the things that I needed to happen in my life were going to happen. And so I wasn't going to lead nobody astray by preaching a word that I was having a hard time believing myself. So the beautiful thing that happened, though, is I told God, I was like, I'm shutting up. And the only way that I'm going to stand up and do this again is if you show yourself to me in a new way. Like, I got to know that you're real. I got to know that you're out here, because I'm not going to preach a word that I don't believe. And I don't believe this anymore. This is not working for me as I've been taught it. And you get what you ask for. You know, you get what you ask for. And probably the best thing about that is my understanding of who God is exploded out of the building. It exploded out of a church building. It exploded out of the covers of anybody's holy book. It is I feel like I just had an expansion of understanding who he is. And so the way that I explain it to a lot of people who care enough to ask, and you've seen in my writings where I call God the universe. The universe is honest to your spoken word. The universe is honest to whatever it is that you're asking it for. And when you let me back up, because I want to finish the thought. This is how I understand everybody's ability to understand God their own way. There are no two planets within this universe that are the same. Okay. Some planets can rain diamonds. Some planets are made entirely of diamonds. Even in our own solar system, none of the planets are the same, but they revolve around the same sun. Nothing in the universe is identical to the next thing. And no man is, unless it's an identical twin, right? And so with all of this diversity in population, I also believe that there's a unique way for everyone to understand who God is. You know, everybody has their own perfect way that is meant just for them. They have their own divine purpose, their own divine message they're supposed to get out. And you don't get that. You don't reach that level of understanding with God where you can find your walk to the path that another man has chosen. So no disrespect to any of the people that have written amazing, left amazing records of God's wisdom for us. But Jesus had to get it his own way. Muhammad got it his own way. Buddha got it his own way. And even though these, some of the other great writers that understood God in a different way, they probably didn't call it God, but, talk about Confucius, you talk about Socrates, you talk about Plato, these men that had great wisdom. And where did that wisdom come from? They just found a different way to express God as they knew him. Even if they didn't call it that, it was a way of expressing God as they understood God, or understanding life, or expressing life as they understood life, or discovering something new and expressing, God in that newness. And so for me, without trying to get too ridiculous about it, I try to stay true to the way that I have connected and plugged into him. I'm okay with the way he talks to me, my way and everybody's way. And I don't suggest that anybody follow my way. The way that I really get down and meditate, like I don't think nobody should do it just like me, because that's me and God's personal language. He's gonna talk to you different. He's gonna talk to other people different. For me, and the questions that I ask, I'm really just hoping to provoke the spirit in each person to choose to find God their own way and lift themselves from the confine of how God has been taught to them. And I think when you do that, you experience God in a way. And that's why I have the books.
And when you write early in the morning, about how long, man? Let's think about the entry that's been almost the longest, man. How long does it take you from the time when you decide to close the garage door and say, this is me, until the time you come out with something? What's the longest time?
Shoot, man, once I sit down in the chair, so it depends. So I normally within 30 minutes or so I'm writing. Within 30 minutes, I'm writing. So 30 minutes to an hour, I'm probably like all the way in it, and I'll get out as much as I can within that time period. But Excuse me. Yeah, I'll have my music going. I'll be in meditation. I'll have, whatever thoughts that are crossing my mind during meditation, and I'll latch on to a good one. Or this is the other thing, because I ask a lot of questions. This is a beautiful thing about meditation, man. When you sit still and you really allow your thoughts to be clear, you can possess the thoughts that you can control the thoughts that come across your conscious, or you're more aware of them, right? And so if I am meditating and I feel like I'm seeing an answer to a question start to appear, or something that I was inquisitive about and I'm starting to get some understanding to it, I'll stop, man, and I'll sit with that, like, what does this mean? And if I got to get it out, like, I'll get it out, and I don't force it. And I never have a title. Rarely when I get started, I'll just have the desire to write. And because I believe God is faithful to answer, I always sit down and I'll say, is there a message for me? Is there a word for me? Is there a word for the people? And then I'll wait until I get whatever it is. And then that's when I'll start writing. Because I'm not even telling you about my personal writing. Like, I have my own journal. Like, I have my own journal that I keep. So before I even put anything on the blog, like, I've already written in mine probably 2 or 3 pages worth.
And so then how do you now I can't let you slide without giving us a little bit of one of the blogs, man, just for the people in the back.
Well, I was gonna see, could we do volume 2, because I'm telling you, the narrator for volume 2, her name is Jeanette Villafane.
Yeah,
she did an amazing job. And so if there was a way for that to happen, can we play an excerpt? Is there a way for us to do that? I sent you the promo code. Is there a way to work that out?
Man, I don't know about in the middle, unless you can hold it up and give us a little preview. But yeah, because I don't know about sharing it through here.
Okay. All right. Well, let me see. Let me go to the blog. Which one do you like? Because I got my phone on IG Live, man, so I can't.
Okay. Well, look, we can always just come back to that. This ain't the first episode and the only episode. So we definitely got to come back and share some of that, man, because man, I like all of them, because like I say, it's always thought provoking. And so that's the biggest thing, man. Or either from me just talking to you so many times, just understanding that, like, it's nothing in between that paper and your words. You know what I mean? It's like nothing stopping it. So it's a free flow. And so then, man, that's what makes it so intriguing for me, man, because it's just direct thoughts, right?
So you tell me. So let's talk about one, right? So we got time. Well, we only been on 22 minutes, so let's chop one up. So which one do you want to kind of go into? Because, like, I like talking about these things, right? Yeah. I like, and listen, man, my fiance can only take so much. She gets tired of hearing that, right? So I need other people to talk to clearly.
Yeah, man. What about the mind of the prophet Medusa? That's the one I got pulled up right now.
Oh yeah. So that's the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. Okay, so
with the quote starting at Genesis, we start the quote. Then it say, "I finally understand the trauma that accompanies the statement." And I'll read the statement, man, and then you kind of give me some feedback. So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them, male and female. And so now you saying you understand that trauma. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay, so I read a lot, and so in reading, so like, I have a real interest in the subconscious mind, and so your subconscious mind is perfect, brother. Like, it's an infinite recorder of every event that takes place in your life, things that you're not even aware of. It will recall those things, right? So this is what the subconscious mind also does. When you can imagine a good scenario, your subconscious mind also simultaneously is imagining the opposite. Okay, so it's almost like your mind, when you're not aware of this, man, it runs in 2 different directions. Okay, so for every good thing you can see something that is terrible. So right in Genesis, when you come up to, and God made man in His own image, first thing you think about is, if God made man in His own image, you question what type of man or woman you are. You're looking at your own image now, and if you see bad about yourself, you're also wondering, is this in the image of God? Okay, and so some part of you is automatically rejecting the possibility that you could be made in God's image, right? The reason why I titled it Medusa is because, if you know about Medusa in Greek mythology, if you looked at her, she would turn anybody into stone. If you looked at Medusa, she would turn you into stone. So when you are imagining a vengeful God, a God who is going to riddle you with guilt, that is, or you imagine a God that don't reflect who you are, does it make sense? Then you freeze. You kind of you're stuck in stone. You can't get past the fact that God would make somebody imperfect, and then also say at the same time, we made man in our own image. And so how that post actually kind of ends and tries to resolve that is, could you accept God as your image? Which also means, can you accept yourself? Can you accept the good and bad about yourself, right? The things that make us, I guess, if you want to use the term bad, the things that we don't like about ourselves, there's some type of ministry in that. I won't even use the word ministry. There's something productive that can come out of that energy, right? When you have parts of yourself that are denied self-expression, denying them self-expression just only means that they're going to release themselves in some type of self-destructive way, right? It has to get out some kind of way. So the better thing for you to do is understand, what is the most loving way that I can channel this bad energy? What is the most loving way that I can channel this part about me that I don't like? What is the most loving way that I can also see that I look in the mirror and see myself, see where I'm flawed, but also know that I can be used for a higher calling. I can be used to serve a purpose in some way. And so overcoming that, I think, helps people to trust God's character a little bit more, because you're not looking at your flaws as the reason why that statement should be something that you can't relate to, right? If you really want to, in my opinion, that's just kind of how I look at it. I had to come to that understanding and just be okay with who I am, man. Like, I had to be okay with that in order for me to be authentic in my message. I had to be authentic in who I was, because if I wasn't, man, I couldn't survive being anything other anymore. And so that is kind of the premise of where that analysis came from. Is your subconscious mind is already reconciling God made man in his own image. All the ways that you are messed up, you can't accept that, which means there's a part of God that you're not accepting because you feel like he couldn't have made this bad part of me. You automatically throw that onto yourself, or you're projecting that onto God. Does it make sense? Yeah. And so that was the basic premise of the post. Is, I think sometimes the having that complete acceptance of who you are, at least for me, right? Having acceptance of all the ways that I'm flawed, being able to use that in a healthy and constructive way, it unlocks the real potential of that energy that you're, for some people, always manifest in a very destructive way. So, and I'll use myself as an example. I write because it is the best way for me to deal with things that I have real anger and grief about. And so if I were to not have writing, I could probably drink too much, or anger would consume me. That and my anger is different from most people's anger, man. Like, it's different, bro. So like I could pull a tree up by the roots when I'm pissed off. So like I really try to suppress that. Suppress isn't the right word. I try to channel that into energy that's going to be loving and helpful. And so way that I use that, right? And so now, going back to the original statement, if God made man in his own image, God's brought it, not that I'm comparing myself to God, but God has used his wrath sometimes to clear out the old things. And so I'm allowing old things in myself to be cleared out in the same way, and not seeing it as, it's bad to be angry. To me, I'm like, hell, if I'm angry, I know that my writing is about to be fire. That's how I look at it. Like, if I'm real mad or I'm upset about something, this writing is about to be real funky. And so it's not that I'm trying to be angry about something, but I don't run from the feeling. I sit with it, I meditate with it, try to understand where it's coming from, how can it be resolved, what I need to do to get myself centered. And then I let it go. I let it rip. And yeah.
And what volume are you on now?
So volume 1 and volume 2 are out right now. And so in celebration of volume 2 finally being released on Audible, I've reduced the price for the ebooks to 99 cents. So if anybody wants to get volume 1 and volume 2, it's on Amazon Kindle for 99 cents. The paperback is $13.69, just because I like that whole 369 superstitious kind of thing. And then with Audible, you can purchase it. I think one of them is like $6, another one is like $3 and some change, or you could just get it with the credit. And the Audible books are really short. Like volume 1 is only an hour 11 minutes. Volume 2 is about 45 minutes. And so, but I have volume 3 it's not finished, but it's already written. It's really now me organizing all of the entries in a way that I never have before. Like I'm starting to go back and name them instead of having numbers associated with them. And now I think I'm going to be able to tell a better story in them. So volume 3 and volume 3 special edition will be coming out. Volume 3 will likely hit Amazon sometime this month. Special edition will come out in April sometime, I'm not sure. And then we'll see about those books on Audible. Nina is going to narrate the special edition, and I think I'm going to get Jeanette to narrate volume 3 when I'm ready for that to be done. She did, listen, man, you got to listen to that book. You really got to listen to it because she really leans into it. When I could tell that she caught the spirit of which I wrote the book, and it came out in the way that she taught it. She and I had conversations while the production was going on, and I could tell that the book started to mean something to her. It wasn't a job; it was an experience for her. Something that she really had a lot of joy in doing, and it's evident in the way that she talks about it or the way that she narrates. People that I've let hear before it was released almost had like a physical response to how she delivered the narration. It's really amazing.
Gotta check that out, man. And so now on the podcast, I try to focus on artists, musicians, poets, anybody, man, who has really went into just being an independent person and putting out their work themselves. So when you're thinking about volume 1, or even when it was just a thought to the point you got now, man, what were some of the challenges that you faced in getting this book to publish? And how would you tell somebody to get around one of those biggest challenges you had?
Man, Amazon is a plug, bro. Like anybody can self-publish if they just sit down and take the time to understand Amazon's publishing requirements, and not to oversimplify, but it really is that easy. And so I spend more time in proofreading than I do actually posting my books online for selling. You have a few books on there, so you already know, it's not difficult. I would say the difficulty is in marketing. The difficulty is bringing publicity to it. The difficulty has been escaping the network of people that know me to an audience that does not know me. Those are the challenges. It's more self-promotion has been a challenge more so than actually self-publishing, because Amazon makes it really easy. And one of my line brothers does my artwork, and he's really good at it. And so that's another thing too, is your artwork has to be good, and spend money on that because it's worth it. But everything else, man, you can it doesn't cost you anything. Even with Audible, right? So even if you want to have an audiobook, there's a possibility for you to do a royalty share with the narrator. So if you find a narrator that you like, you can offer them a share of your royalties. That way you don't come out of pocket. So you can literally produce your book, your audio book, for no money. Same thing with publishing. You could do it for no money. And if it costs you no money, then the only thing that it costs you after that is time and energy, right? And so if you just throw the right intention behind the time and energy, it's going to give you a return. And listen, bro, I used to tell Jamina this a lot. I don't think we have to say it to each other no more. What you have is always enough. Okay, what you have is always enough, and that's something that I got from the book 3 Magic Words by U.S. Anderson. And I think maybe the first chapter, one of the affirmations, he says the answers to all your problems are speeding your way. And I believe in affirmations, man. You got to speak life over yourself. And so whenever I used to face a situation, I used to tell myself, the answers to all my problems are speeding my way. The answer is present with the question. I said that so much to myself until I started to believe it. I believe that when I say it. So even if I don't recognize the answer, I know the answer is present. And hell, man, I don't got a lot of money yet, right? I'm rich in spiritual things, but first, right? However, nevertheless, understanding my financial constraints, there's a way for me to publish everything that I'm writing for free. My blog is free for people that want to follow my blog. My book right now is like 99 cents. And it didn't cost me anything to publish it, right? So if you really want to do it, like the only obstacle that's in your way is yourself. Ain't getting over yourself. That's it.
That's it. So man, what's next? I know what you say, volume 3. Anything else you're trying to do?
I keep my things under wraps. I keep my secrets to myself. I keep it to myself. But listen, let me give you spiritual and metaphysical support for that, right?
Yeah.
So Jesus says that if you go to pray in your closet to your Father in secret, he will reward you openly. That has always been taught, at least in my presence and when I've been in attendance, has always been taught as don't grandstand. Don't make a big public show of your righteousness and your piety, your spirituality, right? And that has its place. But I took the words literally. I kept it a secret. And what I started doing was I would have an idea in mind, or I'd be praying for something, and it would only be between me and God. And when it's so beautiful, man, like, because it's almost like a science experiment that you can try with anything. So I'm gonna say this just like it happens. Hold your secret, hold your prayer to God to yourself. Don't tell nobody. Keep your perfect harmony with God. You and God got a perfect note plan. Y'all got the perfect harp string between you and heaven. It's only one note, right? When you keep it to yourself, and nobody should know what it is that you're talking about but you and God. When a stranger comes and tells you something that only you and God knows, God heard you. That's number one. It almost can prove spirit's existence in humanity because a stranger is going to give you your words back. Okay, this is I'm hitting 100% on this thing. Okay, and it's not to say that I'm getting everything that I wanted. I'm gonna just say it's not happening in the time frame that I want it to happen, but I'm getting the answers I want because I keep my stuff to myself. My girlfriend is a walking testament to that. I've a lot of things that I would be praying for her. She would tell me sometimes 48 hours later, you'll never believe this happened, and I'll be thinking I was just praying about this. And I do that for a lot of people. So you keep it to yourself, and when God brings you the other person, if you keep it to yourself and wait for God to bring the other person, you're keeping a perfect note. Does that make sense? So now you're not out here telling people why your stuff is delayed, your big dreams, none of those things. And it's okay to share with the right folks. You got to know who to talk to. You can't tell everybody. But when God brings you your words from somebody who should know your words, now you can talk about it at least with that person. God didn't. He brought a perfect note to add to the one that you already got. Does it make sense? So now you're not out here telling people what your ideas are, what your dreams are, and now you got to kick all them folks out your choir because they all sing a key. If you just wait for God to bring the next note, you start playing a lot faster. The music sounds a lot better. It runs a lot smoother. And here's the beautiful part too. You can take your hands off of it.
Yeah.
You can take your hands off of it. Especially when you're praying for somebody else, you take your hands off of it. Like brother, there's things that I pray for people that I know I don't have the possibility to do any of those things for. But I just pray for God to make the necessary exchanges happen for these people. And when I hear people that have no idea that I'm praying for them come and tell me things that are happening in their life, it brings me a lot of joy because I see my prayers for them being answered, and they see their own prayers, being answered. And I even see, I'm seeing personal things happen for me, just the same. So try that, man. Make that an experiment. I think that was one of my blog posts. It's called, I think, a call to fast. Hold it in secret. Test God in it. I'm gonna say it even that boldly. Test God in that fact that if you hold something in faith with Him, between y'all two, you're not talking about it in impatience. You're not talking about it complaining. You're not talking about it prematurely. Let me say that's the right word. Prematurely, He brings the next note so perfectly, bro. And you understand your spoken word, because when you release things too soon, man, you can, it's almost when you release things before it's time. Now God got to clean up what you shouldn't have done because you said something. People don't realize my opinion, enough the power of their spoken word. And there's so many biblical examples. It's almost, I shouldn't have to say it, but the greatest example is the angel came to the prophet Zechariah and his wife. And Zechariah is old. His wife, her name was Elizabeth. She's old. And the angel said, you're going to carry a son that's going to make the way for the Messiah. And Zechariah immediately was like, how? And the angel said, because of your unbelief, I got to shut your mouth. So you just got to think, pregnancy is what, 36, 40 weeks? That man couldn't talk for 36 to 40 weeks because it was that important for him to not say nothing. Mm. Does it make sense? Like it was that important for his words to not speak death upon what God had ordained or declared was supposed to happen. So I trust the honesty in that. I would rather stay silent than speak death. Okay. And if I'm going to wait until I find the right way to say it before I say anything, because once I release it, what I'm asking God is to run it, to my awareness. If I speak it out loud, he's going to be like, oh, that's what you want? Let me serve you, let me serve up what you're asking for. And so as I become more mindful of those things, I really try to keep my speech aligned with what I want to see happen in my face. If I don't want to see something happen, I don't say it. I don't speak names. I don't talk about situations. I don't do any of those things because God is honest. The universe is honest. If you ask for something, the universe is going to run that back to you. It's almost like a black and white thing. God don't choose a side. If you sit up and say, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm fat, I'm stupid, I can't do it, I came from this background, then that's what you're going to get, right? You can't escape it because you're speaking it over yourself. But if you affirm, Napoleon Hill calls it autosuggestion. People call it affirmations. Some people call it hypnosis. They're just different things. You keep telling yourself something over and over again, your mind will start to believe it. Your mind will take that question, take whatever it is that you're saying, and they're going to make that experience as real for you as possible based on the words that you speak. So it's very powerful. And and I know I'm talking too much. Let me know if I need to shut up, bro. Like I don't want to.
I'm just thinking of what you're saying, man. It's just that power of life and death, man, in the tongue, right? And then just moreover, whatever we believe, man. I think about just something as simple as that when I go get shots. I hate needles, right? But I go get infusions. I have to go get these shots, and so it's like I'm saying in my head, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. And so eventually I believe that. But until then, and it probably do. But I've trained my mind so and just kept saying that important into me, man. And so when you think of those big situations, that life and death is right inside that tongue, bro.
It is. And if people understood, like, the universe is honest, bro. What you ask for, you're going to get. And what I've started doing, instead of sometimes just telling God what I want, I'll ask God a question. Mm-hmm. So I will affirm some things. So for I don't know, maybe a month or so, I used to wake up every day and I would say, I am free. That's what I'm telling myself because I'm defining what that means for me. I'm free. That's how I start my day. What thoughts does a free man have? Mm-hmm. What thoughts does this free man have? What choices does he make? How does he value his time? How does he value his money? How does he love? How does he forgive? And whenever I would come across situations in the day that rubbed against what I believe my freedom to be, I say it to myself until it's become second nature. Like I don't have to ask the question no more. I'm continuing to define what freedom is in my head, but now I know how this free man loves. Does that make sense? I know how this free man forgives. I know how this free man chooses. I know how this free man thinks. I know how this free man values his time. I know how this free man is free in every way that I can imagine myself to be free. Okay. And so as I have said that to myself and I own and I possess that mentally, I'm seeing it more outside in my life. The freedom that I feel inside is also starting to reflect itself on the outside. And so speaking the right things over yourself, it's almost like you're reprogramming your brain. You almost have to look at life and your brain as two different things, brother. I'm trying to simplify it in the best way I can understand it. If your life is not giving you the right output, the right result that you're expecting, you got to change what you're putting into it, right? Mm-hmm. And everything starts with your perception of how your life is. It all starts with what your subconscious thoughts are. It starts with the speech that you have coming out of your mouth. And if you see too much of your life that's in disarray, you don't like it, you got to change what you think and what you speak. And until you're not sure about what it is that you want to speak, shut up.
Yeah.
You got the right to remain silent. So just be quiet, right? And if you sit with the answer long enough, God will give you the answer. Like, He gonna answer the question for you. It'll come to you in the most subtle way. And because you're holding it in faith and you're not releasing it prematurely, it might come from the mouth of a stranger, right? And I've seen that happen too many times to have any doubt about it at this point. And not just for me, like I'm seeing this happen for friends. I'm seeing this happen for people that I know that I've called by name in prayer. I'm seeing the changes happen in their life.
Well, man, as we get ready to land this plane, brother, you dropped so many jewels on us tonight. How do they find the books? I got it going across the screen. Let me go back to my bam. I got it going across the screen, but I would rather you follow us up with the words on how do we go find all this work you got going, brother?
So Amazon, search for Mind of the Prophet, The Diary of a Curious Mind. You'll see volumes 1 and 2. There are Mayan symbols on the cover of the books. I write under the pen name Samuel Ibrahim. And so that's where you can find me. And if you go there, they'll have all the formats. They'll have Kindle. So I think with the Kindle subscription, the book is free. But for anybody else that, you know, I don't have Kindle, so I don't know. But it's 99 cents for the next 6 days. So you can get it for $1 for the next 6 days. You can get it on Audible and you can get the paperback. And that's where you can find it. Or you could just go to my blog, www.mindoftheprophet.com, and you'll kind of see like how random my meditative thoughts are and the things that I write about. And you can just, like, I have over 200. I think it 234, something like that. Count. Yeah. But
like you say, man, it's just your thoughts, man. It's not like I'm going back, I'm through writing, now let me go back and move it all around or edit it up. It's just really from your head to the paper.
Yeah, like it's very rare. Sometimes if I get something good, I'm starting to write like titles that might come to me. It just kind of in, you know, the margins sometimes, but I won't chase that rabbit. You know, I'll wait till it comes to me. But most of the time when I sit down is one take, and I'll go back and revise it. But most of the time when I sit down, I sit and I'll stop, and then I'll wait to see if it's another one. And sometimes I can just tell if the energy is on me right, then I know that you know, I know that I have more left in me. Like I can tell when it's time for me to stop writing, and that's what I do. Maybe I the charger. Sorry.
Man, I want to say, man, just thank you, man, for taking some time out tonight of the schedule, of the writing, to drop some jewels on us, drop some knowledge on us. We had so many people, man, just agreeing, man. A few people just said, preach.
I appreciate that. Listen, I'm not gonna pass the offering plate around, but they can go on Amazon and get that buy button. they can't do that. And listen, let me work for mine. So I appreciate you having me on, man. And listen, what you're doing is amazing. I think I think the platform that you have, I've seen it nothing but expand since I met you 2 years ago. And so it does my heart a lot of joy to see like the progression that you stuck with this. I see the doors opening for you, the relationships that you're building, the platform that you're on now. Like you're on the radio, you know, you're on the radio, bro. And 2 years ago we were, I don't know what conference room that was.
It's the conference room, man.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, man.
But you're being faithful, and so you know, when you're faithful in small things, God gives you larger things to be faithful over. And I just see more happening for you.
Man, I sure appreciate that, bro. We're gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep telling myself that, like you say, to make sure that it is my perception of reality and it is my reality. So I appreciate that, brother.
Yep. Thank you for having me on. So what's next, man? When am I get to see this? Because I gotta critique myself. I do that.
Man, I told you this is live.
It's live, so there ain't nobody recording it. There ain't no recording.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna be and it's gonna be on the YouTube. It's gonna be on my YouTube and it's gonna be on
I'll just wait till you tell me.
It's gonna look as soon as we get through. I'll send you the link. All right,
and then did you get the invitation to the listening party? I'm not sure if I sent it to you. Did I send you the
I'll have to double check and see.
I resend it. If I didn't, I'll resend you
okay.
the listening party so you can make sure that you're there.
Man, that'll do it, brother. Well, man, once again, I thank you for that time. We're about to get out of here. This is KT for KTTV signing out. 100.